How's it going, everybody? Welcome to General Hospital MV, my GH After Show. Let's get into it. First of all, let's talk about Peter. Peter is still delusionally trying to insert himself into Maxie's life every chance he gets. And of course, Maxie is trying to find any excuse not to have him over. But here's the thing, Chase still needs that antidote, and Anna knows that the only way Peter will agree to give that antidote is if she convinces Maxie to invite Peter over. So Anna goes over to Maxie's house to ask, and of course Maxie is just given a hard no, and Anna realizes that she has to be straight up honest with Maxie if she's going to invite Peter over, and she explains that Peter has poisoned Chase and that he refuses to give the antidote unless she convinces Maxie to invite Peter over. So then Maxie reluctantly agrees to do it to help Chase. Peter comes over, and of course he can't help but taunt Anna, and then he gives her the antidote and she runs to book it to Chase to try and save his life. Chase is in pretty rough shape. He's a little bit delusional and believes that he and Willow are married, and that's when he has a seizure. Anna shows up with the antidote, and Finn tries to discreetly insert the antidote into Chase's IV bag, but not discreetly enough because Elizabeth noticed. After Chase is out of the water, Elizabeth questions Finn on what he inserted into Chase's IV bag, and Finn dodges the question and then boots Elizabeth off his team. Can someone please explain to me why no one is telling Elizabeth about Peter and Franco? Also, does anyone else think that this was way too easy? I mean, something tells me that Chase isn't out of the water yet. First of all, Michael and Willow still haven't told Chase about how they're in a relationship now, so something tells me that when they do tell him, his condition is going to worsen again, and then we're going to have to sit through scenes of Willow and Michael feeling incredibly guilty about it. But yeah, if Peter is as smart as the show wants us to believe he actually is, then I would imagine that Peter probably gave Chase like a stopgap or something that will slow down the poison, but not to actually completely cure it. Either way, I need these writers to wrap things up with Peter. It is May sweeps, let's go. Alright, let's talk about Brooklyn for a second. She is desperately trying to get her hands on a real live baby, so desperate that she actually calls Tracy Quartermain and Larry Ashton to try to get her a baby on the black market or something like that. Conveniently, that's when Olivia shows up and tells Brooklyn that she ran into Maxie at Nathan's grave and heard her saying that she's planning on faking a stillbirth for her baby, and Brooklyn books it out of there in no time flat and goes over to Maxie's apartment. Brooklyn ends up at Maxie's apartment, and she confesses that she's not really pregnant and that she knows that she's planning on faking a stillbirth for her own baby, and offers to take the baby into her hands, and Maxie was like, hard nope. However, when Brooklyn points out that this is the best plan that she's got, Maxie agrees to it finally. Honestly, I think this is gonna go horribly wrong. It's Maxie and Brooklyn, how could it not? Alright, let's talk about Cyrus. To absolutely no one's surprise whatsoever, he shows up to Windermere and announces to Ava that he plans on continuing his work relationship with Nicholas. To make matters worse, he looks at a photo of Avery and menacingly points out just how much Avery looks like her father. As soon as Cyrus left, Ava quickly booked it over to Carly's, and we're gonna get into what happened after that in a moment, but let's talk about what Carly's been up to this week. Carly has been working with Britt to try and help Jason escape the hospital so he doesn't have to go back to prison where he'd be in danger from Cyrus's men. But since Cyrus is very much on to Britt, it's not going to be an easy thing to pull off. Britt is obviously aware that Cyrus is onto her, so Jason suggests that she gets anyone that she cares about into hiding, and really all that is at this point is her mother, because Maxie is kind of protected since Peter and Cyrus are kind of buddies. So it makes sense that Liesl would be in the most danger. She does tell her Mutter to hide, and Liesl is more than happy to do it because she's going to hide out with Scott Baldwin at his place. I freaking love Liesl and Scotty. Oh my god. Both Britt and Laura found out that Scotty and Liesl were a thing, and they were absolutely shocked. Their reactions were so priceless. I loved it. My favorite scene this week, just in general, but of course of Liesl and Scotty, was when Peter showed up at the Metro Court and Scotty slammed him against the wall and says that he's going to pay for killing Franco. Liesl was so turned on. I was like, oh my god. Liesl is so morbid, and I love it. To be honest, I think that Britt is actually in far more danger than Liesl is. At this point, Cyrus knows that Britt is going to Jason. He's got people in the hospital watching her and calling him and updating him, so if anyone's in danger, it's probably Britt herself. Alright, got a little bit off topic there. Let's go back to Carly. So Carly had invited Laura over, and is trying to convince her to keep Cyrus distracted and to make nice with him. Laura is reluctant to do so, and that's when Ava showed up and tells Carly about how he threatened Avery. Carly was of course very snarky towards Ava, and Ava was like, hang on a second, I'm not asking for your help, I'm offering my help to you. You think I'm ruthless, so why not use that to your advantage to bring Cyrus down? So Carly changes her plan a bit. She tells Ava to invite Cyrus over to Windermere for dinner to distract him, and then Ava calls Cyrus to do so, and then suckers Laura into coming to the dinner as well. So Laura's gonna be stuck pretending to be nice to him at the dinner anyway. I'm actually really looking forward to those scenes panning out because I feel like it's going to be amazing. Such great actors and actresses all in a scene together, and it's going to be chaotic. Especially if Cyrus catches a little bit of wind on their plan to get Jason out of the hospital. Although I doubt that he would expect Carly and Ava to work together, so maybe he won't find out. Speaking of Jason, he had a visitor in his hospital room this week, and it was Cameron Weber, who of course was yelling at Jason for killing Franco. Jason tries to say that he didn't do it, and of course it falls on deaf ears. And naturally Jason didn't tell Cameron that Peter did it either. Not that I blame him, but it's just like, oh, it's so annoying. Even Elizabeth tries to go to Cameron after and says, you know, maybe Jason didn't kill him, you didn't see how he was talking to Jake, and Cameron got mad at Elizabeth for that as well. Now Cameron wasn't solely at the hospital just to visit Jason. He actually found out Jason was in the hospital after he had gotten there. The reason why he was there is because he was with Trina and Jocelyn. Jocelyn injured herself while practicing volleyball, which she shouldn't have done, and it wrecked her ankle even more. Jocelyn is obviously heartbroken that she couldn't go to the game to impress the college that she's trying to impress, so as a distraction, she asked Trina to go on a road trip with her to pick up her dad, Jax, at Nixon Falls. On their way there, Trina's car actually breaks down, and Trina decides to take that time to tell Jocelyn about how Dev stole her journal and that Cameron seen something in there that upset him, and that's part of the reason why things are so awkward between Cameron and Jocelyn besides the whole Jason thing. Now of course Cameron never actually told Trina what was in the journal that upset him, so they're both kind of clueless on that part. Eventually someone comes to give Trina's car a boost and they head to Nixon Falls, but before we get into that we should probably talk about what's going on with Sunny and Nina at Nixon Falls. Nina is at the hospital in Nixon Falls with Jax, and when he wakes up he instantly tells her about how he swears up and down that he saw Sunny at that barn dance. Nina of course says that's impossible, and then to make matters worse, Sunny shows up at the hospital and Nina has to go into overtime just to make sure that they never cross paths with each other. So ridiculous. She actually convinces Sunny to leave, and then later on Jocelyn shows up at the hospital to pick up her dad, but Trina of course decided to go get something to eat, so they have to wait till the car gets back. Guess where she went to go eat? The 10-0, which of course is where Sunny happens to be, and he has another pissing contest with Elijah, and Phyllis has to basically play referee. Anyway, after Elijah leaves, Sunny and Phyllis are alone and they go to the back to get something, and that's when Trina shows up. So she didn't see Sunny yet. I wonder if she will though. That'd be quite funny. I'm sure that she won't because they're gonna drag this storyline to oblivion, but it would be funny if she did. Alright, let's talk about Alexis. She is getting special treatment in prison thanks to Nicholas, who actually showed up earlier in the week to visit Alexis, and Alexis was mad at him for basically selling his soul to Cyrus just to save her. And Valentine actually visited earlier that week as well, and I think Sam did too, though I don't think we actually saw the scenes of them actually chatting together. All of that was kind of whatever to me. The thing that I was most excited about in terms of Alexis was that I knew that at some point she would have to cross paths with Shawn, and sure enough, she does. Apparently Shawn has privileges to go to the woman's wing of Pentonville to get a library book, which just so happens to be where Alexis is working. Instead of scrubbing floors, she's working in the library. Alexis and Shawn caught up with each other. It's so funny to think that these two were together and now their children are successfully domestically partnershiped. Kind of a funny thing to bond over, but you see, Nicholas, Alexis did not need Cyrus's men to protect her in prison. She had Shawn. Shawn's got her back. It's time to screw Cyrus over. Someone has to screw him over. Anyway, the only other scenes worth noting this week is Dante and Sam were sharing scenes over concerns of Maxie, because Olivia kind of tells Dante that Maxie's not doing so well right now. And since Sam is good friends with Maxie, they're going to work together to try to get Maxie out of her funk. During those scenes, there was like an awkward hand-holding moment between the two, and I don't think Dante was as receptive to it as Sam may have hoped. I still don't really know how I feel about Dante and Sam. Like, I don't hate him, I don't love him, I just know that Dante needs something or someone to do until Lulu wakes up. And I hope that it's Julie Berman that plays Lulu when Lulu wakes up. But that's a whole other topic altogether. And Sam, well, she's not really in Jason's presence anymore, and I don't see them going to get back together anytime soon. so that means her screen time's going to squander unless they give her something to do. Sam actually did share scenes with Jason this week. She brought Danny over to visit him at the hospital, and she questioned if something big was about to happen with Jason being in the hospital for a wound that wasn't really too bad. Jason, of course, gives Sam deniability by not admitting to anything at all, but Sam knows what's up. I do miss J-Sam, but it really does seem that Kelly Monaco's just not into it anymore, you know what I'm saying? Anyway, that wraps it up. Before I go, I am doing GHMV Reacts this week, this Wednesday. I am definitely going to stick with the Quartermain theme for the month of May, so let me know what Quartermain scenes you want me to watch in the comments below. And if you like this video, give it a big old thumbs up, subscribe if you want to, I would really appreciate it, and I will catch you guys this Wednesday. Peace out. Congratulations.